Are you afraid of failure? Afraid of being judged? Afraid that you're not good enough? But pause for a moment. Failure is not the enemy. It's simply an essential part of your journey to becoming stronger. What's truly frightening is not stumbling, but letting fear hold you back from taking action. In this video, I'll share the wisdom of Stoicism, lessons from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus to help you master the fear of failure. Together, we'll explore how to view failure correctly, practice overcoming fear, and take action even in the most challenging situations. Watch until the end, because what you're about to learn could completely change the way you face life's challenges. Before we dive in, if this is your first time on my channel, I'd appreciate it if you could subscribe and like this video. This will help me continue creating more content like this in the future. Failure, in the eyes of the Stoics, is not an enemy. It is an essential part of the path to success and growth. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, once emphasized, "We cannot control what happens to us, only how we respond to it." If viewed correctly, failure is a stepping stone, not a barrier. Begin by shifting your perspective. Most of us tend to see failure as an end, a conclusion to our efforts, dreams, or even self-worth. This is the first mistake. Failure is not a sentence, it is feedback. It works like a mirror, reflecting what needs improvement, what requires adjustment, and presenting opportunities to grow. Failure is simply a result, not a permanent judgment. The most successful people in history have accepted failure as part of the process. Thomas Edison, the creator of the light bulb, famously stated that he had discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work before finding the right one. J.K. Rowling, the author of the Harry Potter series, was rejected dozens of times before her first book was published. They didn't let failure stop them. Instead, they viewed it as a natural part of the journey. A simple example from life. Imagine you're learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you fall many times, but you don't give up because you understand that falling is part of learning how to balance. Likewise, in any goal you pursue, failure signals that you're trying, learning, and making progress. What matters most is looking beyond the immediate emotions. When failure happens, feelings of shame, disappointment, or fear often take over. But ask yourself, will this truly matter a year from now? 5 years from now? The answer is often no. Most small to medium failures aren't powerful enough to define your life. However, how you respond to them does. Furthermore, think about the value of the lessons failure provides. The reality is that you can't learn everything from success. When everything goes smoothly, you often don't analyze deeply because you assume you did things right. But failure forces you to face reality, re-examine strategies, and discover ways to improve. It is a tough yet highly effective teacher. When you accept that failure is an inevitable part of the journey, you will no longer fear it as much. You'll see it as a gateway to new opportunities, not a wall blocking your way. To apply this mindset, focus on the journey, not just the results. Every step you take, whether large or small, is part of your story. Don't let a single difficult chapter close the entire book. Lastly, remind yourself that no one can avoid failure. The difference lies in how they handle it. Strong people are not those who never fail, but those who refuse to let failure hold them back. The fear of failure does not arise from failure itself, but from how we interpret it. Epictetus once said, "It is not events that disturb people, but their judgments about them." To overcome this fear, you need to learn how to ask the right questions, ones that help you separate reality from negative emotions and self-judgment. Most fear of failure exists because we haven't truly faced it with reason. We often ask questions like, "If I fail, what will others think of me?" Or, "Does this mean I'm a failure?" These unhelpful questions only amplify feelings of powerlessness. Instead, focus on questions that allow you to view the situation more objectively. Ask yourself, how bad is this failure really? Will it have a lasting impact on my life? Rarely does failure have as severe an impact as we imagine. Most failures are temporary and do not have the power to define who you are. However, the mind, prone to exaggerating fears, often convinces you that one failure could mark the end of all your efforts. The next question you should ask is, What is the worst that could happen? The Stoics advised confronting the worst-case scenario head-on instead of avoiding it. If you start a business and it fails, what is the worst outcome? You might lose money, time, and feel embarrassed. But you can rise again. You can learn from your mistakes and apply those lessons in your next attempt. Even in significant failures like losing a job or going bankrupt, what is the absolute worst outcome? You might face financial struggles, but you will still have the ability to act, learn, and rebuild. Another crucial question to ask: what can I control, and what can't I control? This principle is central to Stoic philosophy. You cannot fully control the outcome of every effort. Factors like market conditions, others' opinions, or even luck remain beyond your influence. However, you can always control your preparation, effort, and attitude. By focusing on what you can control, you reclaim power from fear. An athlete cannot guarantee victory, but can control their training, mindset, and determination. Additionally, ask yourself, what will happen if I don't take action? Most of us fear failure so much that we forget inaction also has consequences. If you don't start that project, you may live with regret. If you don't chase your dreams, you could spend a lifetime wondering, what if? Inaction can be worse than failure, since failure at least brings lessons and growth. A powerful question to shift your mindset is, what can this failure teach me? Rather than fearing failure, reframe your thinking and see each setback as a learning opportunity. If you fail a job interview, what can you learn from it? Perhaps you need to improve your communication skills or prepare more thoroughly. If a relationship fails, you might learn how to communicate with greater honesty and build better understanding. Finally, ask yourself, how will I feel about this failure 5 years from now? This question helps you detach from immediate emotions and gain long-term perspective. Most of today's minor setbacks will seem insignificant in the future. However, the lessons and growth they offer will stay with you forever. By asking the right questions, you break free from emotional control and begin to see failure with logic and clarity. This shift in mindset is the key to overcoming the fear of failure and moving forward. The Stoics taught that to overcome the fear of failure, you must confront it in your mind before it actually happens. The technique Premeditatio Malorum, or negative visualization, is a mental exercise where you intentionally imagine the worst-case scenarios. By doing so, you strip fear of its power and prepare yourself to handle challenges when they arise. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The fear of failure exists not because of failure itself, but due to the exaggerated scenarios the mind creates. When you haven't directly confronted these fears, they tend to expand and overshadow your decisions. However, by proactively visualizing the worst possible outcomes, you break them down into manageable situations. This practice doesn't make you pessimistic. It strengthens your mental preparedness. Imagine you're planning to start a business, but feel paralyzed by the fear of failure. To practice Premeditatio Malorum, visualize your project failing completely. Picture losing all your investment, facing mockery from others, and feeling ashamed. Now ask yourself, what is the worst that could really happen? Losing money may hurt, but will it ruin your life? Embarrassment is temporary, but the lessons you learn will stay with you forever. If seen correctly, this failure doesn't diminish your dignity or core value. It is merely an undesirable outcome, not a life sentence. This technique helps you realize that negative emotions are not permanent and that most fears are illusions fabricated by the mind. Marcus Aurelius applied this method in all major decisions. He would ask himself, if this doesn't go as planned, what will I truly lose? Can I endure it? When you visualize failure in detail, you often discover you're stronger than you thought. Imagining failure also motivates you to prepare more thoroughly. If you're afraid of failing during a presentation, picture yourself forgetting your lines or being criticized by the audience. By confronting these fears mentally, you'll feel compelled to practice more and prepare better, gradually weakening your fear. The key is that Premeditatio Malorum is not about pessimism, but preparation. You are not expecting failure, but if it happens, you'll be mentally ready to face it. Stoics believed that once you prepare yourself for adversity, nothing can truly break you. This practice also helps you reassess what truly matters. If you're afraid of failing at a project, ask yourself, is this fear worse than living a lifetime of regret for never trying? Most people realize that not taking action and avoiding risks is the greater failure in the long run. To effectively apply Premeditatio Malorum, set aside quiet time each morning or before making important decisions. Ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? How would I handle it? Could I recover if it occurred? Write down the worst-case scenarios and outline actions you could take to minimize damage. This process not only gives you emotional control, but also empowers you to take proactive steps when challenges arise. What you fear the most, when clearly examined, often loses its power. Seneca reminded us, a person who has prepared their mind for adversity will never be broken when it arrives. When you face fear in your mind first, you are no longer its victim, you become its master. With repeated practice, this mindset will turn you into a resilient person, no longer held back by the fear of failure, ready to take action despite the uncertainties. Let's come together to support our community. If you are a kind person, please hit the like button on this video and leave some energetic comments to spread positive vibes. Together, we can make a difference. The fear of failure only holds power over you when you allow it to control your actions. Stoic philosophy emphasizes that right action is the only remedy for fear. You cannot wait for fear to disappear before taking action. You must act despite its presence. The key is not eliminating fear, but moving forward in spite of it. Fear is a natural mental response to the unknown, but if left unchecked, it can trap you in endless hesitation. This happens because the human brain prioritizes safety and risk avoidance. However, true success never resides in the comfort zone. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff, preparing to jump into cold water. The longer you hesitate, the stronger your fear grows. But once you take the leap, the fear dissolves. Failure works the same way. Only when you confront it through action will you realize it's far less intimidating than imagined. The Stoics taught that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to move forward while fear persists. If you're afraid of failure at work, apply for a new job anyway. If you're scared to start a business, begin with a small project. If you're nervous about public speaking, start with smaller presentations. Each step, no matter how small, chips away at fear's grip. Action holds a unique power. It breaks the cycle of procrastination. When you fear failure, you often fall into overthinking, asking yourself repeatedly, "Am I ready yet?" But the truth is, you will never feel completely ready. Waiting for perfection only keeps you stuck. Epictetus once said, "It is not thoughts or theories that make a person, it is action." Successful people are not those without fear, but those who act despite it. A practical tool to overcome this is Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. When you feel fear, count down from 5 and take action immediately. This principle is rooted in behavioral psychology. Your brain only needs a few seconds to create excuses for delay, but by acting instantly, you disrupt that cycle. No need for perfect confidence, no need for guaranteed success. Just start. Marcus Aurelius also reminded us, you have power over your mind, not external events. Realize this and you will find strength. When fear arises, remind yourself that the feeling is temporary, but the consequences of inaction can last a lifetime. If you're afraid of rejection when confessing your feelings, what's the worst that could happen? A rejection? But if you never try, you might miss out on a meaningful relationship. If you're afraid of failure in your career, what's the worst outcome? A missed opportunity? But if you don't try, you risk living with lifelong regret. Even more importantly, repeated action builds courage as a habit. Courage is not an innate trait, it's the result of consistently facing fear. A soldier going into battle for the first time feels fear, but through repeated experiences, they learn to manage it and focus on the mission. Life works the same way. The more you confront challenges, the more resilient you become. Not acting out of fear is a trap. You hesitate because you feel unprepared, but this hesitation only strengthens fear. This cycle can only be broken by action. Don't wait for fear to fade. It won't disappear until you face it. Failure isn't the enemy. Regret for not trying and the paralysis of procrastination are far worse. Take one small step today. Even the smallest action begins to shatter the chains of fear and move you forward. The Stoics taught that a person's value is not defined by success or failure, but by how they respond to them. Epictetus once said, "You cannot control what happens to you, but you can always control how you respond." Failure does not define you. It is merely an event, a result, nothing more, nothing less. However, most people attach their identity to their achievements, believing that success or failure determines their self-worth. This is a dangerous mistake, as it often leads to self-devaluation when results fall short of expectations. At the core of Stoic philosophy lies the principle of the dichotomy of control. Some things are within your control, while others are entirely beyond your influence. You can control your effort, preparation, mindset, and response to results. However, you cannot control how others perceive you, the final outcome, or external circumstances. By learning to separate yourself from result, focus only on what you can control, you free your mind from unnecessary pressure and the fear of failure. Imagine you're running a marathon. You can control your training, diet, and mental discipline during the race. However, you cannot control the weather, the strength of your competitors, or the final outcome. If you measure your worth solely by whether you win, you surrender emotional control to external factors. But if you focus on completing the race with your best effort, you have succeeded, regardless of the outcome. Detaching yourself from outcomes does not imply a lack of ambition or indifference to success. On the contrary, it grants you the mental freedom to act without being paralyzed by the fear of failure. When you're no longer controlled by results, you're more likely to take risks, challenge yourself, and learn from failure with greater resilience. Seneca once wrote, "A wise man is not swayed by success or failure, for he knows his worth is not tied to them." The danger of tying your identity to results is that failure can feel like a personal attack on your self-worth. You may begin to think, "I didn't just fail in this project, I am a failure." But this is a dangerous illusion. One mistake cannot define your entire value as a person. Remember, failure is an event, not your identity. The Stoics also emphasized focusing on the process rather than the outcome. A skilled swordsman doesn't obsess over winning, but instead focuses on perfecting each strike and movement. A true writer doesn't measure their worth by book sales, but by their dedication to the craft. When you shift your focus to the effort and doing your best, the results become secondary rewards. To apply this mindset, ask yourself, what can I control in this situation? If you're preparing for a job interview, you can control your research, practice, and composure during the meeting. However, you can't control whether the employer will connect with you or prefer another candidate. If you don't get the job, it doesn't mean you're unworthy. It simply means the outcome wasn't favorable in that instance. Practicing detachment from results also helps you face failure with greater calmness. When failure occurs, instead of self-criticism, ask, did I give my best effort? What can I learn and improve for next time? By focusing on what you can control and letting go of what you can't, you'll find inner peace and confidence. Ultimately, your value is not determined by success or failure. You are not your bank account balance, the praise or criticism from others. You are defined by how you face challenges, your persistence, and your integrity in every action you take. Failure is merely a temporary checkpoint on the path of personal growth. Failure is not the enemy. It is an essential part of the journey toward growth and self-mastery. The Stoics taught that a person's value is measured not by outcomes, but by their response to adversity. When you learn to view failure as a lesson, ask the right questions, prepare your mind with Premeditatio Malorum, act despite fear, and detach yourself from results, fear will lose its grip on you. What's truly frightening is not failure itself, but living a life filled with regret for never trying. Failure is temporary, but courage, persistence, and the willingness to face challenges are what truly define you. Don't let fear control your actions. Take the step, face the challenge, and if necessary, fail. because each failure brings you closer to becoming the strongest version of yourself. Time waits for no one. Act today. Thank you for watching this video. Let's support our wonderful community by hitting subscribe and turning on notifications right now. Show everyone that you're living kindly by liking the video and sharing your experiences in the comments. Take action now to spread positive energy.